He lost everything in under 90 seconds. His family, his newborn son, and the life he thought he'd built after cheating on me. I didn't yell, I didn't warn him, I just opened the door and let my silence do the rest. 12 hours later, I sent his girlfriend one video, no context. She hasn't spoken to him since. I packed his things in silence, item by item, memory by memory, folding them into boxes the way I once folded his laundry after work. My fingers trembled, not from rage, but from something colder, clarity. 8 years reduced to 3 cardboard containers and a duffel bag. I left them at his parents' front door before the sun came up, with a note tucked between his shaving kit and the old hoodie I used to sleep in. No need to call, I'm done. There's something terrifying about a woman who leaves quietly. No scenes, no begging, no broken plates. Just silence so sharp it cuts deeper than any fight. We met when I was 25. Back then, I still thought time made love stronger. That effort earned loyalty. That forgiveness was noble. His name was Callum, charming if you asked anyone else. Deceptively calm. Always smiling with half his mouth. But I know now that some men smile the same way they lie, clean, practiced, and without guilt. My name is Annie. I'm 33 now. I teach high school literature, which might be why I always believed in redemption arcs, even for men who didn't deserve them. When I found out about her, I didn't confront him right away. Instead, I watched, read the texts he forgot to delete, traced the timestamps, pieced together the little lies he told me about working late, drinks with the guys, and suddenly, private notifications on his phone. He had cheated before, years ago. I forgave him then. We went to therapy. I thought we'd rebuilt. He swore he was changed. But cheating once is a mistake. Cheating again is a choice. This time, the girl was new, younger, naive. She worked in his office. Jess, I think her name was. I didn't hate her. She probably believed every word he fed her. The night I caught him slipping into bed at 2 a.m., reeking of her perfume, I didn't even flinch. I just watched him, like a stranger I once knew. And then, the next morning, I packed. Not just his things, mine too. My disappointment, my grief, my hope. I packed them all into the calmest rage I've ever known. I wasn't leaving to punish him. I was leaving to reclaim myself. He didn't see it coming. Men like Callum never do. They think the silence is mercy until it isn't. He called me 17 times in the first 3 days. Blocked. He emailed, messaged me on Instagram, tagged me in songs we used to slow dance to in our tiny living room. Still blocked. I knew the stages he'd go through: confusion, guilt, denial, bargaining, and I didn't interfere. I wasn't trying to make him miss me. I just wanted him to sit with himself without me around to soften the consequences. Mutual friends told me he was unraveling. Annie, he's devastated. He didn't think you'd actually leave. He's really sorry. Of course he was sorry. Men like Callum always are, once they've lost control. For months, I didn't say a word to him. I moved into a friend's spare bedroom, started doing yoga again, repainted my nails for the first time in a year. I bought myself a bookshelf. I drank coffee, alone in silence, and found it comforting. But I also cried, not for him, for the version of me who waited 8 years to realize I deserved better. Sometimes I would open our old text thread, not to read, just to see how empty it looked. Sometimes I'd stare at his name in my contacts, wondering how someone who used to be your whole world could become a number you won't ever call again. And all the while, he spiraled. I heard he started drinking more. Missed a few days of work. Jess, the woman he cheated with, moved in with him. She didn't know what he was like under pressure, but I did. I knew exactly how his charm cracked when things didn't go his way. That's why I waited, not to get even, not yet. I was letting the house of cards collapse on its own. 3 months passed, then 4, then 6. One day I got a text from an unknown number, just 3 words, "Please call me." I didn't reply. I didn't need to. He wasn't reaching out to apologize anymore. He was drowning and wanted me to throw him the same lifeline I'd used to pull him out years ago. But I had learned something in that silence. You don't save men who anchor themselves to your soul and call it love. You walk away, and if you're patient enough, they'll hand you the match themselves. Just 1 sentence. Found the keychain your grandfather gave you. Sentimental, right? Come grab it Saturday, or it's going in the bin. No emojis, no warmth, just polite indifference. I knew he'd come. That keychain had lived in his glove box since college. A rusty silver dog tag with his grandfather's initials, worn smooth from years of anxious rubbing during traffic or long drives. He once told me it was the only thing he took when he ran away from home at 17. So yes, he'd come. And I would open the door, not because I wanted to see him, not because I missed him, but because I needed to feel what it was like to look at him and feel nothing. Saturday arrived. I timed my makeup with surgical precision, bare enough to say I didn't try, polished enough to suggest I wasn't broken. When he knocked, I waited 10 full seconds before opening the door. There he stood, awkward and unsure. Hair slightly longer, eyes sunken, the weight of consequence finally sitting on his shoulders like bricks. "Hey," he said, voice quiet. "Hey," I replied. I handed him the keychain. He didn't take it right away. Instead, he looked at me the way a man looks at the only mirror that ever told him the truth. "You look good," he added. I nodded, said nothing. There was a long silence. Then he asked if he could come in, just for a second. Just to talk, just for closure. I let him. He sat on the same couch where we once planned our future, where he used to kiss the back of my hand during movie nights and whisper that he couldn't imagine life without me. He asked how I'd been. I told him I was fine. He asked if I was seeing anyone. I said that was none of his business. He apologized again. "I messed up, I know, I was scared. And then when you left, I didn't know what to do with myself." I nodded, said nothing. Then he hugged me. I didn't stop him, because I needed him to think that maybe, just maybe, I was still the girl he used to convince, the one who would believe his tears. He exhaled against my shoulder like someone relieved of a burden. Then he left, and I watched him walk down the steps, past the doorbell camera he didn't notice. I knew Jess would see it eventually. I knew he wouldn't be able to explain it. And I knew exactly when I'd show it to her, not out of cruelty, but timing. Because the thing about slow revenge, it always lands harder when they think they're finally safe. 3 weeks later, Jess gave birth to their son. I watched it unfold from a distance, never needing to ask. Social media filled in the blanks. A soft-focus maternity photo shoot, a balloon-filled nursery reveal. Then finally, the hospital photos. Callum beaming, holding his newborn, captioned with something like, "First day of forever." It made me laugh, not bitterly, quietly. The kind of laugh that comes when you know something the rest of the world doesn't. Because 12 hours before that photo, he had been at my apartment, and I had been waiting, not for him, but for this moment. The moment where all I had to do was press send. It was 9:13 a.m. when Jess received the message. I know because I timed it to arrive just as visiting hours opened. Just as Callum was walking down the corridor with a coffee and flowers, ready to meet his son. All she got was a video, no text, no explanation, just one file. It was the doorbell footage. Him standing at my front door, me letting him in. 2 hours later, him walking out again, hair ruffled, collar loose, smiling to himself, no context, no timestamp, no way to prove what did or didn't happen in that space of time. Then 5 minutes later, I sent the second message. This one, just a sentence. Did he even shower and change his clothes between being with me and holding his son? Congrats on being stuck with him for the next 18 years. I never got a reply, but I didn't need one. Because chaos leaves a scent, and Callum wore it like cologne. He was escorted out of the hospital within an hour. His name scrubbed from the visitor list, his phone calls unanswered, his celebratory moment shattered. He tried to contact me the next day. A different number, voicemail, text, another apology. This one filled with desperation, panic, the scent of a man unraveling fast. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I don't know what she thinks happened, but please, Annie, you need to explain. Tell her it wasn't like that. But I didn't, because I never said it was. I just let the footage speak. Let the timing write the story for me. Let her fill in the blanks the way I once had. Until those blanks swallowed her whole. And the beauty of it, there were no receipts, no texts, no flirty messages, no paper trail. He'd been careful because I'd let him believe he needed to be. He thought the doorbell camera didn't matter. He thought closure meant forgiveness. He thought I'd opened that door because I missed him. He never realized I opened it to lock him out of everything that came after. That was the last time I ever saw him in person. And that was enough. I didn't gloat. I didn't call anyone to relive it. I didn't even check to see if Jess had blocked me, because that wasn't the point. The point was simple, to leave a mark so deep he'd never be able to wash it off. That doorbell footage, it was the scalpel. I kept it for months, like a tool I didn't yet know when to use. Not because I needed revenge then, but because I knew one day he would rebuild. And men like Callum, when they rebuild, they always recycle the same lies. I just made sure his foundation cracked before it even set. He texted me the next night, just one line. Why did you do that? No anger, no insult, just quiet confusion. The voice of a man who had played with fire for so long, he forgot what burns felt like. I didn't answer. He tried again a few days later. This time it was long, a full essay in paragraph form. You know I wasn't trying to hurt you. I made mistakes, yes, but I've changed. Jess and I had a kid. I was trying to move forward. You knew that. You knew what sending that video would do. That wasn't justice, Annie. That was cruel. I read it in the bathtub, the steam curling around my face like applause. Because here's what he didn't understand. I didn't do it out of cruelty. I did it out of restraint. If I wanted to destroy him, I would have sent the screenshots too. The drunken messages he sent me at 2 a.m. over the past year. The voice note where he said he still dreamed about me. The photo of us hugging, his hand still a little too familiar at my waist. But I didn't, because I didn't need to prove he cheated again. I just needed to make her doubt he hadn't. Doubt, when planted right, grows faster than truth. I knew Jess would watch the video on repeat. Zoom in, check the timestamp, search his call history, look for missing hours, listen for tone shifts. And all he could say in defense was, "Nothing happened." Which, in my experience, is exactly what a guilty man says when he runs out of stories. The fallout came in whispers. A friend of a friend told me Jess moved back in with her parents, that she filed for full custody, that Callum was fighting it, of course, crying at mediations, begging her to believe him. But I wasn't watching anymore. I didn't need to. Because the point of a message like that, the video and the line that followed, isn't to start a fight. It's to start a slow, invisible rot. The kind that eats at credibility and trust in equal parts. Every time she looks at him now, she'll wonder, did he go back to Annie one last time? Did he lie to me on the day our son was born? Was he ever honest about anything? I don't know if she'll forgive him. I don't care. But I do know this. That video will live in her memory longer than any apology ever could. It will be her ghost, just like I was his. And what better revenge than becoming the shadow they can never explain away? Screaming, exposing, public humiliation. But that's just noise. The real kind of revenge, the one that lingers, is quiet. It's surgical, clean, undeniable, and I never had to lie once. Callum destroyed himself trying to protect a story that was already unraveling. And I watched without speaking, without reacting, without offering him a single rope to climb back up. It's strange how often people mistake silence for weakness. They don't understand that silence is sometimes the scream that comes after survival. When I first left him, I had nothing. No savings of my own, no apartment, no car, just a suitcase and a job and a heart that felt like wet paper. But healing, when done in private, is a kind of alchemy. I read books again. I lit candles. I stopped drinking coffee with 2 sugars because I realized he was the one who liked it that way, not me. I went to the movies by myself and didn't care that no one held my hand in the dark. I relearned who I was, without the noise of his guilt clouding my thoughts. By the time he came back to pick up that keychain, I was already finished with him. He just didn't know it. And that, I think, is what hurts men like Callum the most. Not the loss, not the exposure, but the fact that their final scene didn't come with a dramatic speech or tears or a shattered vase, just a closed door, a cold silence, and a woman who no longer needed their story to be hers. He never imagined I'd wait a year just to let him walk into his own trap. But I didn't do it to be cruel. I did it to be free. And freedom, for women like me, is the sweetest punishment of all. I haven't spoken to Callum in over a year. Not a call, not a text, not even a glance if we pass by in public. I've seen him a handful of times, usually from across a parking lot, or when I pick up coffee near where he used to work. He always looks smaller now, not physically, but in presence, like a man still living under a weight he can't name out loud. He doesn't wave, he doesn't smile, and I never offer more than a passing glance, as if he's no one special, because he isn't anymore. I don't need anyone to know what I did. I don't need applause. I don't need revenge stories shared on group chats or likes on social media posts. What I did wasn't for spectacle. It was for silence. The kind of silence that lingers after a storm. The kind that says, you can't rewrite this. You lived it, and now you live with it. I moved cities 6 months ago, got a promotion, found a place with hardwood floors and a window that catches the sunrise just right. I keep a small box on my shelf with things I once shared with him, photos, notes, trinkets, not to revisit, just to remind myself of what it took to start over. Sometimes, on quiet nights, I light a candle and sit in that silence. And I feel nothing but peace, because closure doesn't come from answers. It comes from choosing not to need them anymore. And that's the real ending. He never got a chance to rewrite our story. But I did. If you think silence isn't power, think again. Like, comment, and subscribe for more true stories of betrayal, strategy, and sweet, quiet revenge. And tell me in the comments, would you have done what I did or gone even further?